morning, gentlemen, well arrived, gentlewomen, and also I guess it's Sunday, so you're back home, gentle children. Today we are having our complete guide on Plunderstorm. Updated with the changes to the spawn rate of certain mobs and even the balance tuning to the abilities. We are going to go through things like what are the best drop locations and farm spots in Plunderstorm, down to the tier list of what are right now the best abilities, both for damage as well as for movement and for utility, down to also what are going to be the best combos, the best synergy, the best pairing of abilities you can go for, together with even something for nerdy spreadsheet min-maxers about the scaling of the different abilities, how they differ from each other, etc., to finish off with the two best tools, the two best sites for you to go to get your Plunderstorm knowledge. So, obviously, before you even get into the game, you have to, well, first you have to land in the game. So this is the revised, updated list of the best locations in Plunderstorm right now. You still have the best location being the combo of Hammerfall plus the Circle of East Binding over at the northeast. This is still the one packed with the most mobs, density of elite mobs as well as chests for easy leveling and easy picking up your abilities. In the A tier you still have the Goshek farm right at the center of the map, and then downwards in the southern part of the zone. Back to the left still with Stormguard Keep, and then upwards north in the Circle of Elements, which is still a very good one because of the density of elite mobs in the zone. In the B tier, you do have the Argorok Mine, the Farmstead, and the Southern River, the pirate part of the zone. Some of them might have similar density or similar elite quantity of enemies, but not all of them. They're not the full package like the previous zones. You then have still not changed the two worst zones right now, Newstead and Witherbark Village, mostly because of how isolated they are, but also about the lack of loot in both of these zones, or even the annoyance of the mobs in the zone, like for Witherbark Village. Now, as we are already mentioning, as a reminder, if you know about these good locations, chances are other players also know about these good locations. So it's up to you how much do you want to risk, how much do you want to bet that those super popular and good zones are going to be essentially overcrowded with other players thinking the exact same, you know, as you plan in your head your 190 IQ pacifist route to just farm mobs for 10 minutes, maybe many other players are also thinking the same. Once you have landed though, it's time to start thinking about abilities. This is the current tier list of the value of each and every ability by looking at what the top players have been playing recently, even down to the tournament, the Battle Royale that just ended. There is a clear divide before you even start thinking about any of these, which is, can you actually aim, and do you actually want to be up close and personal with your enemies, or are you a scaredy cat? Are you comfortable staying more or less in Africa and shooting people from a different zip code? That is the main difference when it comes to abilities, because right now the best one of the abilities is the Toxic Mackerel, which is a spammable, basically melee ability. So you have to get to stay close to your enemy, you have to go for combos which allows you to stay close with your enemy, which might not be everyone's cup of tea. Not only that, but the ability becomes better the more stacks of poison you can land, so you have to land this ability repeatedly. So it is definitely a high risk, high reward type of ability, which not perhaps many players might want to go for. Many players might feel more comfortable playing with something Rhyme Arrow or Mana Sphere from far back, rather than using the Smackerel. This Smackerel has essentially formed what is the best composition right now to go for your abilities, which is the essentially I only want to do damage with my Smackerel. I'm gonna be using my other offensive ability for movement, so I'm gonna pick Slicing Winds, then I'm gonna pick Lightning Bulwark for damage reduction because I have to stay in melee very often, and on top of that I want to keep up with my enemy, and Lightning Bulwark also gives me movement speed, so I can stick to my opponent and keep using my Toxic Smackerel on them. And lastly, Quaking Leap. Quaking Leap at the moment is the better one of the mobility abilities, and you can easily tell by using something like this, for example, where you can pick up every one of the mobility abilities in the game, and you can see that Slicing Winds and Quaking Leap at every level, at every rarity, have the lowest cooldown. So not only can you use them for movement, but more importantly, you can use them for crowd control, for stuns, which is very important when you're trying to hit people in the face with a fish, because they kind of tend to move a lot. So to guarantee your fish actually landing as good as Fate to Shadows or Faeform or Firewheel are, they don't have crowd control. They don't stop your enemy, which is something that Quickening Leap and Slicing Winds do. That is why they are often being played for any type of build where you want to stay in melee, so you can guarantee your melee hit actually landing on the enemy. There are, as mentioned, plenty of Scaredy Cat combinations you can go for in the game if you don't want to go for the melee version, which is using Rhyme Arrow with whichever other ranged ability you're comfortable with. The default stock standard choice is Mana Sphere. So you pick your guaranteed hit of Rhyme Arrow, you try to land your Mana Sphere, and then your other two abilities will be to basically just run away as you wait for the cooldowns of your Rhyme Arrow and Mana Sphere to come back. If you still prefer the melee playstyle, you can still play around with the Smackerel or even the Searing Axe, together with some good synergy. Right now, one of the better synergies you can go for if you plan on playing one of these two is, for example, the Hunter's Chains, mostly due to the additional, hidden crowd control of the enemy being pulled towards you. As the enemy is flying in your direction, you can start channeling the cast of Searing Axe, for example, or even channeling the Smackerel, so that when the player lands, it will be a guaranteed hit. That's another good synergy when it comes to Hunter's Chains. It synergizes pretty well with just about every ability you have to channel, and then perhaps even land as a skill shot. Since Hunter's Chain guarantees the location the enemy will land to, you always know where you have to aim your damaging ability if you're using Hunter's Chains. For the more nerdy, theory crafting and min-maxy type of players, we have already mentioned both of the sites that can help you with Plunderstorm. One is Plandy.app, which is the one where you get to compare the current power level and pretty much every stat available for all of the abilities in the game, down to all of their different rarities, even to just set them all at a particular rarity to see their damage, DPS, channel duration, cast duration, cooldown, etc, etc. You can also check the melee damage you do by default with levels, as well as the HP of your character with levels. You can then go even further in numbers by looking at the scaling. For example, if you ever mentioned the difference in damage between Searing Axe or the Smackerel. If you're wondering if you want to go melee, which one of the two is the better one, you can check the damage. You can see useful information, like for example, Searing Axe has a significant jump in damage compared to Smackerel when it reaches epic. So if you can get your axe to epic, that's going to be a very good one. You can check the cooldown difference, even adding, other abilities you're wondering about. Perhaps the triple hit of the Storm Archon, which obviously has a much larger best and worst case scenario for the ability, but you can still see that even if you were to land, for example, all three of them, it would be on average beaten by both of these abilities, and that's what you can use to essentially just compare all the damaging abilities. You can also compare other things, of course. You can compare things like the character scaling, the damage increase, and the HP increase with the levels, together with just how strong in terms of power of both health and damage a certain character at a certain level will be. Like, for example, a level 10 character is about 6 times as strong as a level 1 character, but only about 15% stronger than a level 9 character. The other site for good info is plunderstorm.pro. This is the one where you can get to see the tier list of the abilities based on what high level players or even players in the most recent Plunderstorm event have been playing with. You can find multiple good infos about each and every one of the abilities, even down to some of the synergies of the abilities that you can find and pair together. Like we mentioned, the synergy of the chains with the Searing Axe, for example, even down to some guides. Like, for example, if you have been wondering why can't you make Earthbreaker work, because every time you pick it up and you start channeling, you keep missing every single one of the players. Maybe this one will give you more insight on how to play certain abilities, perhaps less easy to land, like maybe the caltrops, or how to maximize your firewall even after the nerfs it received. This isn't even just for solo. If you are playing in duos, you can also get tips for combos, for duo combos when playing with another player and having access to basically twice as many abilities in your team. So both of these sites, plunderstorm.pro and plandy.app, are the two premier sites right now to check pretty much any info you want about Plunderstorm. Sure, there are many players who just want to go into Plunderstorm to get to Renown 40, get their rewards and get out, but there are also going to be plenty of others who are just genuinely enjoying the experience and perhaps want to get better at the game itself. So these are some of the more relevant tips when it comes to playing Plunderstorm, together with providing my dear viewer base with a couple of very insightful sites for you to check out if you're interested in Plunderstorm. For this day, on this Sunday, we are now saying goodbye to each other. We're starting the goodbyes as usual by thanking all of the Patreon supporters for the contribution and the help to the growth of the channel, which can, as usual, still be given completely for free. You can like and comment down below, together with subscribe to the channel itself. Now, with these pointless things out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime... this is so weird. This is so weird. Waking up at like 9 in the morning. What an experience.